Let's talk about creating corners and chamfers and compare the difference. If I create a rectangle, I think that's the easiest way to show you the difference. We'll make a small one here so I can zoom up real close. All right, so this is known as the fillet command. It's going to put a corner between two lines or two curves, or curve and a line. I can select this and this. With this one here active, it's going to trim all. I rarely do anything like no trim, because if you do no trim, you're going to select this and this. It leaves those lines there, so you wouldn't really build a part and make something with that line there. So I don't do that, and the default normally is just to go right here. So it's probably already defaulted on yours to be in the trim all. So when you select two lines and you click a position where you want that curve, it'll create that curve. Where chamfer, if you select two lines, you'll see these three options come up after you pick the second line. You'll notice if I hit undo and select that chamfer and select the line, those options are not there yet. I bring that up because what we need to do is not visible. I don't know why they don't have that visible, but I'll click on that because this is not the default feature. It defaults to the hypotenuse angle, which you can move this around and click a location. All right, so it's creating that arc and it's creating that chamfer. It's terrific. But if you want that to be a specific length, I'm going to hit undo, Control Z, and go back to chamfer. Select this line and this line. You do have the option for a length. Now you notice that if I come over here and I try and type in the length, 1/2 inch, sometimes it doesn't do that. It goes on the opposite side up towards the top or something weird. And it is a 1/2 inch length line. The hypotenuse of this is a 1/2 inch. But you don't want to tell the shop to make this line a 1/2 inch, because that's very difficult to figure out how to do, because their raw material looks like that. So how do you get it to be a 1/2 inch and equal distance on both sides? It's going to be really a big challenge for them. They're going to have to go get their geometry books back out and figure out how to do the math to figure out, if you have the hypotenuse at a 1/2 inch, what is your lengths of these lines using sine, cosine, and tangency? And who wants to do that anymore? And that's just not normally how that's done. So I will undo this and do this again. Again, under corner, when I select this curve and this curve, what's nice about using the corner feature, these tangents automatically show up. If the tangents do not show up, you have something wrong in your parameters, and that needs to be addressed. Okay, so you want to set this so these are tangent. Again, I'm going to go back to chamfer and select this line and this line. We don't use the hypotenuse. I want to trim all. That's good. I rarely do any of these other trims. So trim all is good. I never do this, and I don't really use first and second length. You can. I could go first and second length. I can go 3 based on the first line I selected. Oh no, that's going to be way too big. I could go 0.75 and then 0.25, but that's really rarely done. So the most common technique for chamfering between these two lines here, ironically, is not the default. This should be the default, in my opinion. You want to do a length and an angle. So when I click on this one, I simply like to move my cursor here, and then I'll move my tool palette over here. So when I put my cursor here and go towards the tool palette, it looks like it's on the right side to me. So normally what you're going to do, if the shop's going to build a part, they're going to have this raw material at this corner, and they're going to want to measure over whatever, ½ inch, ¼ inch, and then chop it at an angle, 45-degree angle most likely, okay? So if I change that length to ¼ inch and hit tab, it automatically defaults and creates that chamfer. You'll notice it goes right here and right here. And this is not something the shop is going to try and build to. That, if you tell the shop, hey, I need this length, that's confusing. What you want to do is tell the shop, you're going to have that raw material, and I want you to measure over from this edge to this point. I want you to measure over ¼ inch and then lop it off at a 45-degree angle. So if you've ever used a chop saw, the chop saw automatically locks it at most common angles, like 15, 30, 45, 60. Okay, it'll lock in at those angles. So if you have this part and you're working out in the shop and you just want to lop off this to make a chamfer edge, you want to start with that raw material, measure over ¼ inch. You mark that on your chop saw, and then you just chop it at a 45-degree angle. And that's how they do it, because trying to figure out that hypotenuse is going to be almost impossible, trying to figure out where that point is without doing a bunch of geometry. So that is the best technique for that.